Hi, I'm Cora,
And I'm Emma.
and today we're talking about revenge porn.
Am I? I don't know yet.
So finding out that sexual or naked photos of you have been shared online can be really upsetting. What kind of emotions do you go through?
It's so difficult because I always get asked this question, and it's so difficult to explain because there are so many different phases of this experience. It lasts long. But I think the first and most dominant experience is this extreme loss of control. I think when we use social media, we always think about what do I put up, what selfie, what kind of update, whatever. But when something is shared without your consent, you feel like you've lost control of yourself and your identity. And that's a very strong emotion.
Yeah, that sounds like it'd be really difficult.
I think when we talk about issues like this, we're very focused on the victim and on the first perpetrator. And I think a lot of my focus actually, as I've gotten older, has shifted to the people who are participating on a grand scale. We need to look at why so many people are using humiliation as entertainment. I think for a lot of people, looking at a revenge porn victim is like looking at a person slipping on a skateboard, or a person who sings terribly in X Factor, or a person who's being stupid on a reality show. And I think we have to think about, why does it make us happy to see other people suffer? Why does it give us this perverse sort of satisfaction to see other people being humiliated? And that is a much bigger problem that is not only millennials, it's also adults. And I think this dynamic of lifting ourselves up by pushing other people down is a much bigger problem, but revenge porn is a part of that umbrella problem that we have as a society. And I think when you're using Facebook next time or scrolling down any sort of feed and you see some people getting enjoyment out of ridiculing others for their body or their sexuality or their race or whatever, look at what's happening and ask yourself, why are we doing this? What's happening here? And do I want to be part of a culture where this is so normal? Because I think that's what we have to get at. Why do so many people participate in this? And that's where we don't have an answer yet.
Absolutely. And if you were scrolling down your feed and you saw that kind of thing happening, is there anything you can do about it?
I think standing in solidarity with people who are weak and people who are vulnerable, revenge porn victims need people who stand with us and who pat us on the back and who treat us the same way we've always been treated. And if more people did that, this problem wouldn't have the scope that it has now.
So stop standing behind the perpetrator and start standing behind the person that actually needs your support. And it sounds like such a scary experience. What if a young person is scared about asking for help?
I think that in general, my experience is that the fear of saying something far outweighs the dangers of saying something. Oftentimes people are very afraid of contacting police, of telling their parents, of telling, a guardian, a teacher. But the thing is, they're more trusting and understanding than you sometimes might think.
So you were saying about how it can feel really scary to have to go to the police or somebody about what's happened to you. But what we do have is something called Report Remove. So if you go onto Childline's website, you can search for Report Remove, and it will give you a really simple process for getting the image or video taken down.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, you just have to download this app called youre and then just prove that you're under 18 by having your passport photo or some kind of ID and a selfie of you to show that it's you. And then the Internet Watch Foundation will help you get it taken down. And it is important to remember that it's never your fault if a video or picture gets shared of you. But are there some ways that you could avoid being in the situation where that could happen?
I think, and this is only speaking from my general experience, I was myself violated by a person who hacked my email, so I don't know who did it to me. But my experience is that many of the people who do end up getting violated were coerced into sending the pictures in the first place. That means that the person was actually starting kind of their violence even before the picture was sent by saying, oh, I don't want to be with you if you don't send me these pictures, or saying, all the other girls do it, you should do it too, or, maybe you're very much in love, or the person is older than you, and they're using these power tactics over you. So I think what's very important is to think about, am I comfortable in this situation? Do I trust this person, or am I sending these pictures to impress them or get their love? And that is the same rules that goes for actual sex, never do it to impress anyone. Never do it to get their love. If they don't love you or respect you without the pictures, never ever send it to them. And I think that's the general like thumb rule.
Yeah, so if you feel pressured, that's the time when you need to really think.
And I think there tends to be this incredible pressure on young people, especially on young women, but also on, you know, I'm hearing a lot about, you know, young gay men who are in relationships online with older gay men and who are being pressured to do these things because they're maybe in love with someone who's older and they're saying, oh, it's no problem, la la la, and you want to be loved and respected and seen by this person. And I think that should have your like alarm lights blinging, like watch out if they're pressuring you, even close to pressuring you. Just do not give them anything. If you are really, really afraid of non-consensual pornography, if you're really afraid of revenge porn, don't do it. If you feel like the risks are too high, you know, that's a fair assessment to make.
Yeah.
As long as you don't use that assessment to hit other people in the head who are then victims.
Yes, of course.
Because I think that becomes a big issue, that people are like, oh, you're so stupid, I would never do that. That's not how we roll.
No, it's called victim blaming, and that is never okay.
No. And I think that's what we were talking about before, about there not being any doubt about who's doing anything wrong. And I really remember when I started talking about this publicly, there was such a focus on the victims. What did we do? What was up with our sexuality? Did we hate ourselves too much? Did we love ourselves too much? There were all these, you know, discussions about our sexuality and personality.
Yeah.
But there was very little discussions about the motivations of the perpetrators. And I think we as young people also need to hold our peers accountable. Yeah. And I'm not seeing that happening in schools right now, and that worries me. It worries me that victims suffer huge social consequences, but perpetrators don't, and we need to shift that around.
Yeah, so how would you suggest that somebody would hold their peer accountable?
And I think if you are a young man who has a friend who shows you a naked picture of his girlfriend, for example, say, I don't want to see it. Be above it. And I think taking that stand is hard. But trust between genders and trust in relationships is more important than anything else. And you have more power to change stuff like this than you think.
So what if you have sent a video or image to somebody and they haven't shared it, but that they're threatening to blackmail you with it?
I think, once again, it's so important to say here, the law is on your side. Blackmail is very, very illegal. And the first thing you should do is screenshot and document everything. If you have proof that they've blackmailed you, proof that you've sent them this material, make sure that you have that, because that'll be important. If they do make the threats real, you have that to back up that they've been threatening you all along. And again, I say, don't bow down to the threats. First of all, it won't protect you. If a person is mean enough to threaten you, it also means that there will be oftentimes mean enough to do stuff anyway, even if you bow to the threats. And I think something that's so important that it saddens me so, don't be alone with it. If a person is threatening you, please talk to other people about it. Don't go around with like a lump in your throat for days, not daring to tell anyone because you're ashamed to say that they sent a naked picture. Everyone can end up in that situation. I'm a fairly smart person, and that also happened to me, you know, that people were threatening me, but the situation is so shameful. And it's so central that we don't let that shame that is around sexuality in our society still dominate us. So as soon as you're saying, you know what, I'm not ashamed of this, you're committing a crime against me with my privacy, and I'm going to take it further, suddenly the power dynamic is switched. And I think that's where you need to be at.
Yeah, and you made a really good point of saying about not suffering by yourself and talking to people. Who could you talk to about that kind of thing?
I know this is sucky, boring advice, but talk to an adult about it. Call Childline.
Yeah.
You can get help from an adult who is not in your direct contact, but who can still get you on the right track. And suffering with it alone is it's the worst thing you can do, especially for your own mental health.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.